This is your quick and dirty training from your step manager on how to start and execute a project with very little information or tools or really any knowledge as it relates to project management. I have been fortunate enough to help and guide as a teacher to many in the project management profession. I'm just north of 47,000 students worldwide, and the number one question that I get asked the most is, where do I start? How can I do this with no tools? And how can you tell me to get a project kicked off in the right way? So in this discussion, we'll walk through all the things that you need to know. We'll go through an example, a use case of how you can apply these different tools and practices in real time. You'll see me generate the project plan right in front of your eyes, and you'll be able to walk away with a ton of knowledge on how to execute this for your project, excuse me. I think some of the benefits that you'll get out of this is, one, you won't have to do any formal training. There's really no training or jargon or anything like that. It's just, this is how you run a project from nothing to getting it done. Two, this is the fastest way that I think you could probably take any information and go from no information to a project plan. And three, you'll be able to do this without the utilization of paid for tools. There's a bunch of different tools that I show and I talk through in the discussion, and you'll be able to use them for free, and they pretty much have remained free over the last few years. So you shouldn't be encountering any paywalls with anything that I've been showing you today. So this is for those that are interested in generating a quick project plan, people that don't have the capacity to be a full-time project manager, or for new project managers. This is your training, and I hope that you enjoy. And if you want more examples, if you want another walkthrough, then please just like, share, subscribe, and comment, and let me know on what the next example you'd like to walk through, because I'm happy to share more. Hope you enjoy.
And let me share my screen here. All right, so this is the quick and dirty board on how to set up your project plan. And really, there's three things that we're going to talk about today. One is getting your plan. The second thing is knowing how to manage it. And then the third thing is knowing how to report on it. If you want to follow along, you can get a free plan. The tool that I'm using right here is called Figma. This is a FigJam board. We have a paid license, but you don't need a paid license to have free sheets. This is just a whiteboard, basically, and is good for illustrative purposes. So let's talk about getting your plan first. So what we mean by getting your plan really is, let's talk about getting a work back schedule in place. Okay, so work back schedule in place is, what is the end date that you're starting with? What is the final, what is the end of the project? And then working back from that end date with key milestones in mind. So basically, you're trying to plan out the sequence of activities that you're doing from one end of the project, at the end of the project, to the beginning of the project. Let's say, for example, you're in charge of setting up a content shoot for your internal team. Maybe you're launching a new customer portal and you're doing a content shoot. So this is a project of a content shoot, and we know that we heard from our VP of HR that they want this content shoot done. We know that they wanted to have this done by December 1st. So let's set our first timeline. So let's say here's our first milestone. Let me get a fancy thing here. I'm going to use this triangle pointing downward because that makes sense to me in terms of what milestones should be. And I'm also going to use just the same consistent color for, let's call it, a light blue milestone. So I'm going to use this one. This one's December 30 or December 1st. So this is our go live date of how you are going to, or for our LMS content, is what we'd established. So before go live, what are the things that we need to do before this? So directly before that, I'm going to imagine that we're going to want to have some type of review, right? Usually when you're doing content like this, somebody's going to want to have to review this. So if this is an LMS content that you're at least going to have maybe a handful of videos, maybe 4 or 5 videos, whatever those are, you are going to have to review this for a certain period of time. And in corporate America, usually things take 1 to 2 weeks. Final review, let's say this is planning in 2024. Let me pull up a calendar. I'm just pulling up a calendar on my desktop right now. I'm surfing down to December 31st or December 1st, which is a Sunday for 2024. So let's say November 18th through the 29th. So now we have that. We know that this is happening, but you know what? I'm realizing is that our company is in the States. So I'm going to give us an extra week because Thanksgiving is during that holiday, just for planning purposes. So I'm going to do 11th through the 29th. So we know that this is the next major activity. So now we know this is November. So we got this November 11th through the 29th is the final review. And okay, so what happens before we do a final review for an LMS content shoot? Let's think about this logistically. I'm not really familiar with LMS, but this is a learning management system, is what that means. I would imagine creating the draft of the content is going to take a long time. And actually, now that I think about it, the draft of the content is only going to be possible after we shoot the content. So there's going to be, I'm going to revise this as editing content, editing of LMS content, and this is shooting of LMS content. Okay, don't worry about the dates right now because we're going to adjust these. So now I'm kind of in this flow of, now I understand. Okay, we know that we have to shoot, edit, final review, and then go live. So we also probably have to write the content, right? We probably have to author the content, or plan is probably a better plan of LMS content. So we know that those things are happening. Those are all steps in this process. There's lots of activities that are underneath these steps, but these are major milestones. These are major activities that we're just trying to call out here. Okay, let's say editing the LMS content, no idea. But normally I would say I would try to get expert opinion in this case. Like if you probably are going to talk to a vendor about this, if it's not you. Or your internal team that's going to help out with that. But let's say, for example, purposes, you heard back that it's going to take them a month to do editing of content. In order for us to hit our go live December date of, or a go live date of December 1st, we have a final review the last 3 weeks in November, and they take a month to edit the content. That means that in November, we will have to have the content edited and ready for final review by November 8th, or the end. That's the last date. So we have to have a full month of time. That means they have to start editing on October 14th. So hopefully that makes sense. We're starting with these dates in mind, and just to give you a ballpark. This is just a plan for now. We're just planning very high level ballpark, nothing crazy. So we have December 31st or December 1st is our go live date. We have November 11th through the 29th is our final review timeline. Then we have the editing of the content that's going to take place through October and November. So now, okay, so we need to have our content shot and ready by the 14th so that we can make our November 11th final review and December 1st go live. Shooting of this content, we know that it's going to take us the course of 2 weeks to shoot the whole content that we're going to have. So going back to my calendar, literally that's all I'm doing is just looking at a calendar. To remind you, we're in a calendar and a free piece of software in our project, or we're planning a project. Shooting of the LMS content that's going to take, or excuse me, the editing is going to begin on the 14th of October. So that means we're going to kick off shooting on September 30th through October 11th. Then we have to plan the content, which I'm in charge of planning with my team members. And I know it's going to take us at least 3 weeks to plan the content. So that means that in order for us to have the content ready for shooting, we're going to probably need to have 3 weeks of planning the content, writing the content, deciding what we're going to shoot on. So that's September 9th through the 27th. So now we have this plan in place. So we have our overarching, we know the timeline in place. And let's say we probably want to have a formalized kickoff on or around the date when we're starting this process. So let's call it, maybe the week beforehand. We have Monday, and that would include things like budgeting and who's going to be involved and key stakeholders and all that other stuff. So you need to know who are the key stakeholders and what's their vision, etc. Okay. All right. So I kind of glossed over that last point there around getting stakeholders involved. That'll probably be that's outside of the quick and dirty, but I'm going to do another call to action here, is that stakeholders, you kind of need to know who your stakeholders are in order for these projects. Who's defining the success criteria for the project? If that's your boss, great. Now you know who is going to be defining the success criteria for you. Perfect. That's easy. All right, but look at what we've done. Okay, so quick and dirty. What we've accomplished is we've got a work back schedule in place. We got our plan. We know that if we want to have an LMS content ready for December 1st, with no other information at hand, I didn't even use, we took a swag, our best guess across all this information. So December 30th or December 1st, we have our go live. November 11th through the 29th is our final review and revisions. Then we have an editing of the LMS content before then, about 2 weeks before then, or maybe 3 weeks before then. Then we have another couple weeks of shooting the content, another 3 weeks of preparing and planning the content. And then finally, we have a resource allocation. So this, if you haven't started to notice, is what you would probably consider more on the waterfall side of the equation. These are just big blocks of activities that are happening during that time, which is okay. I'm not here to throw shade at waterfall or agile or whatever this is. This is purely just to get an understanding of when the dates that you need to hit are happening. And the best way to do it, in my opinion, is just creating a work back schedule. Now, what I think you could do is that each one of these different milestones, you could run these in sprints and iteratively work through these major milestones. And these would become your epics if you're an agilist, if you need to hear the purest way. Either way, these activities need to happen in order for you to get to a December 1st go live. So mission accomplished. We've gotten our plan. Boom, done. We've got our work pack. That's the quick and dirty right there. All right. Next up, let's talk about how to manage it. I kind of teed this up for you a little bit in the last little statement that I made. You kind of have a couple different choices on how to manage this stuff. Because this is an LMS content shoot, I'm imagining that you're going to be dependent upon a vendor, which is going to add complexities to this. So I would say that immediately, if you're doing something like this, you're going to want to have I'm going to use activities. I'm going to use a different thing for activities. Let's call these chevrons will be our activity tracker. So I would say how my brain works is how you're actively managing the project is through two things. How you're actively managing the project is through your meetings / ceremonies for the Agilists, and then your artifacts / lack of a better word, documents. What are the things that people are using and looking at the work, and then how are you connecting to share progress against the work? For a project like this, you could probably get away with a weekly meeting, weekly project working session. And that would be, you have all of the people that are involved in the project, every single team member that's involved with the project, whether that is yourself, somebody that's the film editor, somebody that is doing the filming and themselves, the stakeholder, all of the people that are involved in the project come together and take your time to review where you are in the project, and then talk about next steps and what you need to do to work together to accomplish to further progress the project. Now, I would say a weekly working session would be sufficient for this. And then how you actually manage the work, the artifacts. Let's pull this little thing down. I'm going to change this to a little rhombus, I guess. I don't know what that shape is. Is that a rhombus? Parallelogram, left-leaning parallelogram. Okay, so I would suggest that you use you have two options to manage your project in this case. And what I mean by manage it, it is the what are the task management you can do. So I would say you have to have a task manager in these situations. Task manager to break down and work on the task. So this would be something I think a lot of people benefit from visual tasks. People usually enjoy getting visual or seeing kind of where things are. And the best tool that I can think of to do visual tasks would be in Trello. So this is a free, again, another free software. Let's pull up a Trello board. And let's talk through, I'm going to create a new board, a brand new board. This is a quick and dirty project plan. If I could spell. Okay. Create. So if you are new to Trello, all you have to do is just go to, you can see this is my free space. All you have to do is just go to Trello.com and sign up, and you get free, everything is free on here, right? So let's go. Trello is made up of lists and tasks. So I'm going to just create a simple list for this type of project. I'm going to create to do, in progress, blocked, done. Those are the things that we need to do. Oh, didn't save. Boom. Okay. All right. So this is how you would manage this project. You have tasks that are in to do, tasks that are in progress, tasks that are blocked, tasks that are done. Easy enough, right? So let's say you want to add a card. So let's say, what was our first milestone? Let me go back to this. Our first milestone plan was resource allocation. So let's have determine who our filming vendor will be. Who internally is on this project? Who is our stakeholder? All right, so these are all things that we need to answer, and these are all things that we need to do. And what I'm going to do, because I like to make this as simple or as good as possible, I'm going to add some details to this card. So now that's the overall objective, and a good practice to have is, how do we know this is done? Do we know this task is done? Is we've selected vendors or short-listed vendors, obtained proposals, and we've also shared proposals to stakeholders, right? Got it. And now what we can do to get this done is we can say, okay, we know how this is done because we've selected vendors, we've obtained proposals, and we've shared proposals to stakeholders. Great, that's how we know this is done. This is a part of our initial timeline. It's a part of our resource allocation milestone. So good to go there. One thing that you're going to need on this one is likely a high level objective from the stakeholder. So let's figure out what is the objective for the content, for the LMS content. Meaning, what kind of content do we need to create? Let's say, for example, you know that you probably would have already known this at this point in your project planning this, because you wouldn't be doing this without having an initial request. So let's say, for an example, you want to create a employee onboarding LMS content for all new hires. So your team, you are in charge of creating LMS content for all new hires, and that is the objective of the project. And that is what you're going to be filming. That's what you're going to be writing. You need to think of all the systems and tools and best practices and how to communicate with each other, the cultural stuff, all of the things that a new hire would need to know in your, and that is the objective of your LMS content. So let's say, for example, you already know the objective, so we're going to put this into in progress. If you've never seen Trello before, everything's very click and draggy, very easy to manage. And look at that. If you have every day, when we go back to how you're managing this project, you have a weekly project working session where you can talk briefly at the high level of where you are against these timelines. And then you drop right into looking at your Trello board to see the detailed task tracking efforts that you have. So, okay, we've figured out what the objective of our LMS content is. Great. So now we are in progress against determining who our film vendor will be. Maybe it's blocked because all film vendors have said, no, we can't do it or whatever, but you at least get a visual of how you're running that. So for the objective of this training, this is a quick and dirty of how you're managing your project. How you would manage this project is by weekly working sessions and using a task manager to break this out. Now, for extra credit, I always suggest that for meetings like this, you have a quick refinement session where you just focus on the next milestone ahead. So let's say, for example, you get to the 7th or 8th of this resource allocation milestone that's the activity that you're working on right now. Then you can begin to plan the LMS content, right? So then you can be like, oh, okay, we need to have a meeting just to let's get some ideas against the board for planning our LMS content, right? So we know that, okay, so I'm going to do module 1, write welcome and culture overview. That's what there's going to be a part of this module. Then module 2, we need to write common tools and practices at XYZ org, whatever organization yours is. Module 3 is intro to HR systems. Module 4 is whatever the next thing is. But basically what you're doing in this refinement session is just bucketing out the things that you need to do next, right? And if you're somebody that likes a lot of organization and you're like, oh man, all these cards, Nate, I don't like all these cards together. They all look white and weird and I can't differentiate between the two. No problem. There's a solution for that. So I'm going to use this label and I'm going to edit this and I'm going to call this label this is milestone 2. This is planning content, right? Save. Okay, so now if you look at these cards, anything that has this little tile would match against this one, plan of LMS content, right? I'm just gonna go back and be pedantic about this. Let's edit this and say milestone 2. This would be plan LMS content. That's what that milestone is called. So anything that you want to add, you know that these are all against plan milestone content. You can quickly and easily just add these items so that you can see in your backlog of things that you have to do that, oh, okay, all of these things are for the next milestone, and you can continuously do this as you go on. Again, quick and dirty. If you need help managing a project, you got it going on. While we're here, feel free to give us a nice quick like, share, and subscribe on this video of how to get your plan going up, or how to do a quick and dirty project plan. The last thing on how to report it. Okay, there are 1,500 different ways on how to know how to report it. Know how to report it. There's 1,000 different ways on how you can report on project statuses. What usually is the way that I would suggest in a project like this, unless you're using a formalized tool, unless you're using like a big project management tool with tracking mechanisms and all that other stuff, the best thing that you can do to report out to people is the following. I would either send a weekly or bi-weekly email and recap week progress. That would be that's your main thing. And what to include in that recap of week's progress is these number of things. Whoa, I forgot Figma does that. Number of things completed. This would be, you could pull your tasks from your task manager, the number of tasks completed, right? This would be a great statistic that stakeholders and everybody would want to know. Number of things completed, number of things that remain in the milestone. So say, for example, you went through and planned out your milestone, and you know that you have, this wouldn't be the case, but there's only 3 things that are in your milestone, and you got one of them done, and you need to do 2 more things, right? So that would be something you would include. Number of things that remain in your milestone, or there's 2 more things that remain. I would escalate anything that is a blocker or risk to the project. And a risk would be defined as anything that prevents progress against tasks or milestone completion. So if you have vendors are slow, people are sick, cat has vertigo, whatever that is, there are a multitude of risks. Just report out at a summary level. You don't have to go into every single detail. Usually these would be the things that you would want to report would be at the milestone level, not necessarily at the task level, but at the milestone level. So if there's a delay to the shooting of the LMS content, that is going to have a significant delay on your work back plan. Okay. And then the last thing you would want to put in is upcoming activities in your update. Upcoming activities for the week. Boom. There you go. All right. Let's recap real quick. We know how to do a work back. Start with dates and walk back from the calendar. Think about what your project is, and think about the things that you need to do to go from A to B to B to C, B to G, C to D, whatever. Then how to manage your project. There's 2 things you need to consider: the meetings and the artifacts. Meetings for a project like this, for our LMS example, would be weekly meeting, maybe a bi-weekly refinement, depending on how you want to run it. Then how to report it: weekly or bi-weekly email or in-person meeting, but usually people would be fine with an email, or I would suggest that, because this is an asynchronous update. Recap the week's progress, number of things completed, number of things that remain in the milestone, any blockers or risks to the project. And I would emphasize using milestones as your marker to report things up, not just tasks, but use your discretion. And then the final thing is upcoming activities for the week. So there you go. There is your quick and dirty project plan. If you have no idea how to do projects, if you're new to project management, or you don't want to do project management, you just want to do the essentials, there's your quick and dirty. Good luck. Please share if you want more examples, if you want a software example, if you want other examples of what kind of projects, if you have a project that you can't crack the nut, or you got it coming up, let us know, and we'd love to do an example for you. So I hope this was very helpful for you and your team, and please like, share, and subscribe, and I look forward to feedback. Thank you so much.